Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is, well, I was pretty shocked by it, to be honest. It's been apparently quite well known, but I didn't know of it because I am in as much of a learning process as I guess some of you guys are. If you haven't heard of these cases before, you know that's pretty much me. So yeah, this case was suggested to me by Jamie and it's the murder of Emma Walker. So yeah, if you've not heard of it before, then let me know what you guys think of it, because I found it very shocking. Emma Jane Walker was born on the 20th of March in 2000 to parents Jill and Mark. She also had a brother called Evan as well. She lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, and was a junior at Central High of Knoxville. She would end up to become a cheerleader, which I do believe she started at the age of 14. And Emma was full of life, just a typical teenager. She would enjoy being very social, and she would become quite popular too. So she was a cheerleader and she was pretty vibrant girl, and she ended up being pretty popular in her school. When she started cheerleading for the football team, that is where she met a guy. His name was William Riley Gall, and I'm going to refer to him as Riley Gall because that is how people knew him. He was this popular football guy, she was a popular cheerleader, and so, you know, they ended up dating for a while. Riley was raised, just to tell you a little note on Riley's background, he was actually raised by his grandparents. He loved video games, so not the typical jock kind of guy. And he also studied really hard and tried to keep his grades up too. When he first met Emma's parents, he gave them a very good impression. They were happy to have him around. He would come around, they would eat together, have fun, you know. Emma loved his company. Emma, apparently, according to her friends, took cheerleading quite seriously. But generally, you know, yes, she was a cheerleader, but that wasn't all she was. She was confident, she was intelligent, she did really well at school, and she knew that she had to keep her grades up, and she studied really well because she had plans for a future. She wanted to become either a vet or a neonatal nurse. And just generally, she was just such a lovely, kind-natured girl. So, because she started this relationship with Riley from a young age, like I said, she was 14, he was 16 at the time. You know, he was 2 years older than her. Her parents really wanted to keep an eye on her and wanted to make sure that everything stayed kosher with them. So, what they did was they would read any messages that she sent to him, social media, things like that, because they wanted to make sure that the little girl was safe. Again, she was really young. And this is when they learned that Riley, they had a bit of drama going on because Riley not only was dating Emma, he was also dating his ex-girlfriend. And he wasn't really faithful, like, at all. Despite that, you would think that him being not faithful, he's not that interested in Emma kind of thing, you know. But that wasn't the case. He was very obsessive of Emma. He was very possessive of her. And according to her friends, Riley did not want anybody to hang out with Emma other than him. He was really controlling. He tried to stop her from doing certain activities. And, you know, it just didn't sit right with any of their friends or their family. Like, he wouldn't. She was so young. He would hang outside of the grocery store for her, you know, things like that. It was stalker behaviour. Let's just put it out there straight away. And it's not good behaviour. But despite that, Emma really, really fell for Riley and she just completely adored him. And if you look at their pictures and, you know, things like that on Twitter and social media, you wouldn't assume that anything was wrong. Like many relationships that go along these lines, from the outside looking in, you can't tell, unfortunately. Emma's parents knew though, because they were monitoring their relationship, so they were getting more and more worried by how possessive and obsessive he was over Emma. Their relationship was not going in a good way. It was not healthy. There was a lot of toxicity around it. And like, he would text her saying, like, 1 minute being horrible and saying that he hated her and all this lot, and then the next moment he'd be like, I'm really sorry for what I said, I absolutely love you. So it's just like Jekyll and Hyde. He'd just flip like that. So her parents knew that they had to do something to try and keep these two apart, and what they actually did was they ended up banning Riley from their home. So at least he couldn't come round and see her that way, because he just wasn't a good relationship. So they did that, And the relationship still continued. It wasn't until she was actually grounded by her parents and basically forced to stay home apart from school, cheerleading, the essential activities that she did and things like that. You know, she had to stay at home. And that kind of did it for Emma. She finally started becoming herself again. She was hiding in her room a lot, hiding away from the world. She was always very social and she wasn't doing any of that anymore. But when they grounded her, after doing that is when she started to become more herself again. Emma texted a friend to say that her and Riley were done, and that was the end of it. I believe at that point she was 16, he was 18. They had been dating for like 2 years. Well, off and on, because their relationship was very off and on. Despite, you know, Emma breaking up with him and her thinking that that was done, you know, Riley did not accept that at all. He began to do things that would, I don't know, try and make her feel bad for him. He faked his own kidnap. I don't know why, but he did. On the 18th of November in 2016, Emma was at a friend's house party and she started to get these weird texts. This message off an unknown number, basically saying that they had him and that if she didn't care about him anymore, then it wouldn't bother you that we have him because we've kidnapped him. You know, they were saying you need to get your keys and meet us at the car. All of this, and that you had to come along. Well, she was wondering what on earth was going on, so she took someone out with her, a friend I believe, and then she goes outside to see what the heck is going on, and then she gets another message. They don't see anyone, but they get another message saying, I told you to come alone. So they were basically watching whoever this was, but Emma was wondering what on earth was going on, so she goes inside, she gets a bunch of friends, and they all go outside to have a nosy around, see what's going on, and that is where they find somebody lied face down in a ditch. And when they go up to that person in the garden, and when they go up to that person, it actually turns out to be Riley. And he carried on to claim that he had actually been kidnapped. He didn't understand what was going on. She really didn't believe him, and it did later turn out that he just made it all up to try and manipulate her and get her to take him back and things like that. The next day, Emma made her way home and she sees this guy hanging out around the house dressed in all black. So she manages to get inside. She's a bit panicky because this person seems to be hanging around the house and not leaving, not walking past. They're still there. And then the handles start going and this person tries to get in. She was terrified, and the first person, because she was home alone, so her parents weren't in, she didn't know what to do, she was petrified, and so her first thought was Riley. She ended up texting him saying, I hate you, but I need you right now. Riley, of course, told her that he was, you know, speeding on over there and he would check it out for her. Now, that day, she was supposed to actually meet her mother somewhere, and when she didn't turn up, her mum got worried and came home. She came home to find Emma and Riley out in their front garden sitting together. She obviously told him to get off her property. She did not like him, and he was not showing healthy behaviour towards their daughter. So she tells him, get off my property, and then she gets the full story off Emma. Now, she is suspicious straight away as to who this man in black was. She said to Emma, like, don't you think that it's weird that Riley was involved in both of these instances, like the kidnapping, and now, you know, this man in black turns up and then Riley's there to save the day? And then she just says, no, like, it wasn't him. She does not believe that it was Riley. Shaken by what had happened, her parents decided to chaperone her to and from work the next day to make sure that she was safe. By the Sunday evening, things were a lot calmer. You know, nothing else had happened since that weekend that was just finishing kind of thing. Emma seemed relaxed, you know, nothing else weird had happened to her, and she was just carrying on as normal. She ended up texting her friend about homework assignment that night, and then she went to bed just after midnight. Her father that night is woken up by a loud bang, and he accustoms it to the slamming of a door. Then he hears another loud bang, thinks that 2 doors have been slammed for some strange reason. He does not know why. So he gets up, he goes to check on the kids and have a look around the house. He doesn't see anything untoward. He goes into Evan. You know, he's sound asleep. He goes into Emma. She is sound asleep. And so he thinks nothing of it and he goes back to bed. Now, Evan was sound asleep, but Emma was not. She was actually, unfortunately, deceased. Not that anybody knew that at the time. So the next morning is the 21st of November. It's a Monday, 2016. Her mum goes in to get her up. I believe Emma actually asked her mum to get her up at 6 a.m. because she wanted to wash her hair before she went into school. And so her mum goes in to try and wake her up, and she does not wake up. She sort of nudges her daughter, thinking that, you know, no, it was strange because she didn't often take long to wake up. So it was strange that she couldn't wake her up straight away. So she kind of nudges her, and there is still no response. And she realizes that she actually has no pulse, and she rings emergency services.
Where is your emergency?
I'm Joe Walker!
What's going on there?
I just tried to wake up my daughter for school, and she has no pulse.
How old is she?
She's 16.
You said that she's non-responsive?
Yeah.
They arrive at the house, and unfortunately Emma had already been deceased for many hours at that point. The way in which it happened, I found pretty insane. They examined the scene, and, you know, I guess initially no foul play was really suspected in the very, very few moments of it. They found like a spot of blood on a pillow, and rumours were going around that maybe she overdosed, all these things. But then as they looked more into it and looked into the body, they realised that she had actually been shot. And it wasn't from inside of the house like you may think. She was shot from outside of the house. They found 2 bullet holes shot from the outside of the house into where Emma was sleeping, and one entered her head and it instantly killed her. They found the other casing in the pillow, and they found the other bullet in the pillow, and there were casings outside. Emma's death soon became a murder investigation. The crime scene indicated that a 9mm handgun had been used in the shooting. And it didn't really take the police long to come up with their main suspect. They were going around asking lots of questions, asking lots of people, and they got one name back. And let you guess who it was. Yes, it was Riley's name. Riley went onto Twitter, and he was expressing his love for Emma, how devastated he was. He went ahead and changed his Twitter bio, and it said, "Living every day through Emma Walker. I love you, beautiful, and I know you're in a better place now." But, you know, the police quickly began gathering evidence against him. He had a massive reputation of stalking Emma and being very possessive of her. Everyone knew it, and they were just so suspicious of him straight away. He ended up he ended up talking to a friend and asking this friend, I believe it was his roommate, maybe, in college, I don't know, how to remove fingerprints from a gun. But, you know, it wasn't for him, of course. No, he didn't have fingerprints on a gun. Then he had 2 close friends, Alex McCarthy and Noah Walton, and they'd been worried about him since his breakup with Emma and the odd behaviour that he had been exhibiting since that. Well, as soon as they heard that Emma had actually been shot in her sleep, they actually went to the police straight away. They admitted that Riley had asked them to keep a secret. He had told them that the day after his kidnapping, you know, he had actually taken his grandfather's gun, which his grandfather did report as missing. And he said that he had taken it, that it wasn't actually stolen. He had taken it because he was feared for his life after the people tried to kidnap him. And that he was scared that they were also trying to go and get Emma, which he related to the man in black kind of thing. So basically trying to blame it on them, and that they were after both of them for some strange reason. He also asked them how to remove fingerprints from a gun. He again said it wasn't for him, it was because his roommate wanted to know. But obviously, you know, they were worried about him before. His girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend, ends up getting killed by a gun, and he's asking how to remove fingerprints off a gun. It doesn't really take a genius to figure things out. And so that is why they went to the police. But the police actually wanted to work with them because he had told them that he wanted their help to get rid of the gun in the Tennessee River. You know, he just wanted to ditch it, and then he wouldn't get accused of a crime that he did not commit. So that was his plan. And the police actually worked to try and get a confession out of Riley. And they had a plan. Even if they couldn't get him to confess, they were gonna sort of let him take them to the Tennessee River. And then when he pulls out the gun, they were going to signal the police and the police would come and arrest him before he had managed to throw it in. They did manage to get some surveillance of him. He didn't really admit to killing her, but he does admit to stealing the gun and a lot of other things that made him appear guilty enough. He told them that the plan to throw it in the river was that it was big enough that they would never ever find it.
Throw it in the water. They'll never find it. Throw it with enough force. I know it's terrifying. I know this. You guys don't have to come with me if you don't want to. I mean, I'm not too mad, man. I just need Christ, dude. I understand. If it's in the Tennessee River, they will never find it.
He took it to that river with the boys, and as soon as he pulls out the gun to throw it away, they signal the police, and the police go ahead and arrest him. The defense for Riley eventually came forward to say that Riley did make those shots into the room, but it was not with the intention to kill her. Now, this sentence would get maybe 3-4 years if they managed to pull it off. But, I mean, he said that he just wanted to scare her, and that was the intention of him shooting into the house. Which, don't get me wrong, it could entirely be possible. But the thing that makes me believe that it is just a load of bull is that he had to have known exactly where her bed was to put them shots and shot around that area of the outside of the house where she was sleeping. And he knew where she was sleeping because he'd been in a room many times before. If you were shooting in a house to scare someone, you would do it. I mean, you wouldn't do it in the first place, for starters. It's not something that a sane person would do. But if you were doing that, you would make the shots really high or something like that, because they were all really low facing the floor, that they were used to intend to scare someone and that they wouldn't actually run the risk of hitting them. But she was asleep on a bed and he literally shot her in the head as she slept. So to me, that's not accidental, that is intentional. And it was not only intentional in my eyes, it was also intentional in the jury's eyes. They took, I believe, 4 hours to deliberate. In May of 2017, Riley was found guilty of first-degree murder of Emma Walker. He is now serving a life sentence with the chance of parole after 51 years, which means he will be around in his 70s before he is liable to come up for parole. Whether he even got it then is another question. Riley still denied intentionally killing her. He still tried to claim that, you know, he did it just to scare her and make her come back to him, which, I mean, there's not many people that believe that, in all honesty. I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that he shot in there to scare her or he tried to kill her? Let me know in the comments below. But I found this case really frightening. The fact that he was outside the house and he shot into it and he actually killed her is insane. He supposedly loved her, and it's just scary how far people go to try and get back this person that they think is theirs when they never are. Nobody is ever yours. You do not own a person. Just because you're in a relationship does not mean you own them. And even when you break up doesn't mean that you have the right to be with them. It's just awful. These cases are so tragic, and I just found how he actually killed her was just so sad. Like, her dad went to check on her, and at that point she was already dead, and he just thought she was sleeping. It's just so heartbreaking. Her family went on to gather the funds to get a neonatal unit named after her, and also a scholarship, which is something amazing for the memory of Emma Walker. She was just 16 years old when she was murdered, and it's just so tragic how it all happened, how it ended. It's awful. I guess the one sort of solace you can get from it is that Riley is serving the justice for what he did. He's serving his time. Not that it can ever bring her back, but, you know, he can't ever hurt anyone else. So, yeah. That is the end of the case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, guys, that's all I have today on the case of Emma Walker. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!